Good night, Emily. Maggie sighed inwardly as she kissed her daughter's forehead. 1 year after the divorce, her ex-husband's child support payments were consistently late, and her salary as a real estate agent barely maintained their lifestyle in this upscale neighborhood. Greenwich Middle School tuition, cheerleading expenses, and health insurance, her stomach tightened every time she checked her bank balance. "Mom, will you come watch my practice tomorrow?" Emily's eyes sparkled with hope. But tomorrow, Maggie had an important meeting with a client. If she could close the deal on the luxury property, it might ease this month's finances. "I'm sorry, Emily. I have an important appointment with a client tomorrow." Seeing her daughter's face cloud over, Maggie's heart ached. She felt guilty for becoming a work-consumed mother since the divorce. That's when she met him. Stephen Mitchell was a buyer for one of the most exclusive properties Maggie was handling. From their first meeting, she was drawn to his gentle demeanor and intellectual air. His position as an IT company executive seemed to reflect his integrity. "Mrs. Walker, I heard you have a child," Stephen said with natural warmth during a property viewing. "Yes, I have a 10-year-old daughter. Actually, I love children. Our company even develops security software for child protection." The transaction progressed smoothly, and they began having occasional meals together. Stephen always showed interest in Emily, eagerly listening about her school life. "Your mother is truly remarkable," Stephen said softly one day while listening to Emily's stories. His kind gaze made Maggie's heart flutter. The proposal came 3 months after the deal closed. "Please, both of you become my family." On a quiet night at an upscale restaurant, Maggie nodded without hesitation to Stephen's sincere words. The wedding was small but warm. Though Emily showed initial hesitation, she gradually opened up to Stephen's kindness as her stepfather. Their new home was the luxury residence Stephen had purchased. A spacious living room, comprehensive security system, and even a private room for Emily. "You won't have to worry about money anymore," Stephen said, embracing Maggie's shoulders. On the surface, it seemed like the perfect fresh start. Emily's grades remained stable, her cheerleading activities went well, and she seemed to be adjusting to life with her new father. Yet occasional concerns crossed Maggie's mind. Small sounds in the middle of the night. The bluish glow of computer light seeping from the study door. And her daughter's clouded expression, as if hiding something. Everything was too perfect. Was this happiness real? Maggie buried her face in her pillow, trying to shake off these vague anxieties. Tomorrow she would wake up early and make Emily's favorite pancakes. Surely that would bring back her smile. The first sign was the change in her daughter's appetite. "Emily, you need to eat your breakfast." The pancakes she usually devoured remained almost untouched. The morning sun streaming through the kitchen window illuminated Emily's pale cheeks. "I'm not hungry." Emily's voice was small, her gaze fixed on her plate. Across the table, Stephen looked up from his newspaper and spoke gently. "Don't force yourself. I'll teach you something special tonight." At those words, Emily's shoulders trembled slightly. The call from school came 2 weeks later. In the hallway of Greenwich Middle School, Emily's homeroom teacher, Mrs. Anderson, stopped Maggie. "Mrs. Walker, I'm concerned about Emily lately." The veteran teacher chose her words carefully. "She's been missing cheerleading practice. And she seems distracted during class. She's especially reluctant to enter the locker room." Anxiety weighed heavily on Maggie's chest. That night, Maggie knocked on her daughter's bedroom door. The pale pink curtains swayed in the evening breeze. Though cheerful smiling photos still adorned the walls, the room's atmosphere felt strangely heavy. "Emily, can we talk?" No response. When she gently opened the door, Emily was curled up on her bed. Her once proudly worn cheerleader uniform was stuffed in the back of the closet. "Has something been happening?" "Nothing." An immediate response. But her voice trembled. Her thin fingers gripped the sheets tightly. Did Dad say something?" For a moment, Emily's eyes widened with fear. The color drained from her face. "No. Mom, I can't." She wouldn't say anything more. Her small body just kept trembling. From that night on, Maggie began secretly observing her daughter. Walking the hallway under the pretense of nighttime bathroom visits, listening intently. Sometimes, the bluish computer light leaking from the study. And faint voices. Then came the decisive night. In the deep of night, Maggie woke to a sound. The clock showed 2 a.m. Bluish light spilled into the hallway. Her daughter's small footsteps headed toward Stephen's study. Heart pounding, Maggie followed. Walking the dark hallway, muffling her footsteps on the carpet. "No. I'm scared." Faint sobbing could be heard. "A promise is a promise, right? It's for your mother's sake, isn't it?" Stephen's low voice. Then the sound of a lock turning. Maggie's heart began racing. An icy premonition ran through her entire body. "Emily. What's wrong?" "It's late." No answer. Instead, her daughter's trembling voice from beyond the door. "No. I don't want to anymore." Maggie desperately turned the doorknob. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "What's going on?" "Open up." The door remained firmly locked. From inside came the sound of keyboard typing. Multiple monitors starting up. And her daughter's suppressed sobbing. Maggie's hand clutched her cell phone. The numbers 911 on the screen appeared like a saving light. "Please hurry." My daughter." Her voice shook. As she explained, all the previous warning signs suddenly connected: her daughter's behavior changes, the strange nighttime meetings, why she avoided the locker room. Police sirens approached. Red and blue lights cut through the silence of the upscale neighborhood. With the officers' shouts came the sound of the door being broken down. As wood splinters flew, armed officers rushed in. What they found were multiple computer screens. They displayed the school locker room, the cheerleaders, and Emily trembling before them, holding a small camera in her hands. Maggie embraced her daughter. Emily's body was ice cold and shaking uncontrollably. From that small frame, waves of fear and sadness that had been suppressed now poured out. "It's okay now. Mama will protect you. I'll protect you no matter what." In her embracing arms, Emily broke down sobbing violently. Her tears soaked Maggie's pajamas. In the corner of the room, Stephen was being handcuffed. His expression no longer held any trace of the kind stepfather. Instead, there was only icy cruelty and the desperation of a trapped beast. The interrogation room at Greenwich Police Station was filled with the impersonal light of fluorescent bulbs. "Emily, don't be scared. Mama's right here." Maggie held her daughter's small hand tightly as she listened to the female detective's questions. Detective Sarah Martinez, a veteran investigator with warm Latin features. "Emily, when did this start?" Martinez's voice carried the gentleness of a mother speaking to her child. "A little before Christmas." Emily's voice trembled. "Stephen. Dad told me to put cameras in the cheerleaders' locker room. I said no at first. But..." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "He said he'd fire Mom. That we'd have nowhere to live." Maggie felt like her chest would collapse. Her daughter had endured such terror to protect her. In the next room, another interrogation was taking place. "Mr. Mitchell, aren't there other victims?" To the detective's question, Stephen showed a faint smile. His expression no longer showed any attempt to maintain appearances. "I want my lawyer." Those were his first and last words. However, the evidence spoke eloquently. Massive amounts of data were discovered on the seized computers. Not just Greenwich Middle School. Footage from locker rooms at multiple schools across Connecticut. And records of selling them on dark websites. So far, we've confirmed similar methods at 5 schools, Detective Martinez reported with a tired expression. He deliberately approached single-mother households in financial difficulty. After marriage, he forced the children to install cameras. He threatened economic sanctions against any mother and child who resisted. The investigation revealed even more shocking facts. Stephen's company position was fabricated. While he was indeed an IT company executive, in reality, he operated dark websites. His background in developing security software for child protection was all lies. "We found no prior convictions." Detective Martinez looked down at her documents. "However, this is likely because he was extremely careful about destroying evidence. There are likely similar victims in other states." At a cafe near Greenwich Library, Maggie met with other victims' parents. All were mothers with similar experiences. "We also had financial difficulties. Even though my daughter seemed anxious, I couldn't notice." Maggie nodded firmly at each confession. It's easy to blame oneself. But now, they had to look forward. "Let's all attend the trial together." Everyone agreed to Maggie's proposal. The investigation continued. Police found crucial evidence in Stephen's office as well. His IT company colleagues were shocked to learn his true nature. Mr. Mitchell may have used company systems, came the report from investigation headquarters. The cybercrime unit joined the investigation. Emily began psychological counseling. "You did nothing wrong." She gradually began to accept the counselor's words. However, overcoming trauma isn't easy. She often wakes from nightmares. At such times, Maggie sleeps in her daughter's room. Greenwich Middle School promised full cooperation. Mrs. Walker will provide all possible support as a school. The principal's words contain deep regret and determination. Security system review, resident counselors, and protection of victims' privacy. Specific measures were implemented one after another. "Emily, come back to the cheerleading squad. Everyone's waiting." Emily nodded slightly at the advisor's words. Analysis of the evidence continued to reveal shocking facts. Stephen had planned meticulously before approaching mothers and children. He chose Greenwich's upscale neighborhood, believing the wealthy environment would provide perfect camouflage. And the most cruel fact: he had been recording everything since their wedding day. He continued filming them playing the role of a happy family like it was some kind of show. How many more children could such a man? Maggie whispered with a trembling voice before the evidence. Detective Martinez nodded silently. A week after the incident, Maggie caught her breath opening the newspaper. IT executive arrested in Greenwich Middle School voyeurism case. Her daughter's school name danced across the front page headline. While the article accurately reported the facts, it avoided specific details out of consideration for underage victims. However, the imagination of the upscale neighborhood's residents more than filled in the gaps. That's their daughter. Even though they lived in such a nice house. Didn't the mother notice? The looks followed them at Whole Foods Market and Bruce Park. Even if without malice, just sympathy, it deepened the wounds of mother and child. Emily began refusing to go to school. "Mom, I don't want to go to school." Mid-morning preparations, she throws off her uniform. Pleading desperately with tears in her eyes. Greenwich Middle School was being as considerate as possible. Protecting victims' privacy, banning media entry, and strengthening counseling support. Still, the rumors wouldn't stop. "Mrs. Walker, we understand your child's continued absence. However," meeting with the vice principal. Though hedging his words, his intent was clear. If the absences continued, it could affect her advancement to the next grade. Meanwhile, support was also being extended. Sarah Thompson, a lawyer introduced by Detective Martinez, established the Victims Association. "You are victims. And brave whistleblowers too." At the first meeting in her office, mothers and children in similar situations gathered. "Couldn't we use our experiences to prevent future victims?" One mother's suggestion moved everyone's hearts. Regular meetings began in St. Mary's Church's meeting room. There, they shared their worries, sometimes cried, and gradually began looking forward. "Emily, would you tell me about cheerleading?" One day, a cheerleading advisor from another school who participated in the Victims Association gently approached Emily. "Would you like to watch practice at our school?" We can make special arrangements so no one will notice." Those words marked the beginning of change. Practice in a new environment. Among unfamiliar faces, Emily slowly but surely began regaining her former sparkle. "Mom, I want to dance again." In the evening twilight, Emily's cheeks were flushed for the first time in a long while. Support came from unexpected directions. "Mrs. Walker, we need to talk." The IT company's legal director visited a month after the incident. Former employee Mitchell's actions potentially utilized company systems. "We take this responsibility very seriously as a company." A settlement offer. And more importantly, a proposal. "Would you help us launch a victim support program?" The company planned to support cybercrime victims, especially minors and their families. They wanted to use Maggie's experience in crime prevention education. However, not everything went smoothly. When the trial began, new challenges awaited. The defendant skillfully manipulated the victim's psychology. The prosecutor's opening statement. As details of the case were revealed in court, wounds were reopened. "Didn't you invite it?" Stephen's lawyer's aggressive cross-examination. Emily trembled on the witness stand but answered firmly. "No. I was scared. But I had to protect Mom." At those words, the courtroom fell silent. Between trial dates, mother and child sought a new life. They decided to sell the Greenwich luxury home. Though it might hold precious memories, even more painful ones were ingrained there. While searching for a new property, Maggie reflected on her experience as a real estate agent. "I wonder if we can use our experience to ensure safer transactions." The concept of a training program for fellow agents gradually took shape. As autumn deepened and trees began changing color. "Mom, I've decided," Emily quietly began during dinner. "I want to go back to Greenwich Middle School." There was no hesitation in her eyes anymore. "The cheerleading squad is waiting." And, though stumbling slightly over her words, she continued. "By going back, maybe I can give courage to others who are scared to speak up." Maggie embraced her daughter. Warm tears rolled down her cheeks. That night, they talked for a long time. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be smooth. But they wouldn't look back anymore. "Let's go to school tomorrow." Outside the window, the full moon cast a gentle light. One January day at the Connecticut Supreme Court. Defendant Stephen Mitchell, I sentence you to 20 years in prison. As the judge's voice echoed through the courtroom, a faint sigh of relief escaped from the gallery. Furthermore, I order 80% of the defendant's assets be allocated to victim compensation. Stephen's expression remained emotionless until the end. Only the mask of the ideal stepfather had completely fallen away, leaving nothing but cold hostility in his eyes. "It's over now." On the drive home, Maggie gripped the steering wheel tightly. Beside her, Emily quietly gazed out the window. But this wasn't the end. A week after the sentencing, shocking news arrived. Mitchell indicted in Ohio as well. A call from Detective Martinez. multiple victims with similar methods confirmed. Investigation is also progressing in Pennsylvania. The full extent of the damage was still unknown. Meanwhile, Greenwich was steadily changing. Greenwich Middle School completely overhauled its security system. Strict regulations on surveillance camera placement, restrictions on outside visitors, and above all, a new system focusing on student psychological care was established. We've learned much from Mrs. Walker's experience. The principal spoke sincerely at the new semester's parent meeting. Children's safety is our top priority. True to those words, changes were visibly implemented. New security systems were installed in locker rooms, with staff constantly stationed at entrances. Cheerleading practice times were revised, requiring multiple teachers to be present. Welcome back, Emily. The cheerleading squad warmly welcomed Emily back. We've been waiting for you. A tearful reunion. The former discomfort was gone. Maggie's activities also entered a new phase. The victim support program, started in cooperation with the IT company, received an unexpected response. After hearing your story, ma'am, I found the courage to speak up. The voice on the other end of the phone trembled. People who had suffered similar abuse but couldn't tell anyone kept reaching out. We don't want our experience to be in vain. The Victims Association was officially recognized as a nonprofit organization. Safe Family Network. The name embodied their strong determination to protect families. Their activities were diverse. Support for single mother households in financial difficulty. Creating safety guidelines for real estate transactions. Training programs for school personnel. And above all, emotional care for victims. It's not your fault. In the counseling room, someone's tears become someone else's courage every day. The Greenwich luxury home was sold to a new family. Be happy here. Maggie sincerely wished as she handed over the keys. The mother and daughter's new home was in a quiet residential area on the opposite side of town. A cozy house surrounded by white picket fences. There's even a small garden in the backyard. Mom, can I plant sunflowers? Emily suggested, inspired by the spring weather. Of course. While tilling the soil, Maggie thought. Sad memories never completely disappear. But they surely have the strength to overcome them. Every Sunday, mother and daughter attend Mass at St. Mary's Church. God gives us not only trials but also the strength to overcome them. The pastor's words touched their hearts. Spring 2025. Emily stood on stage at Greenwich Middle School's graduation ceremony. We can turn fear into courage. The audience fell silent at her words as student representative. And that courage will surely become someone's light. After the ceremony, mother and daughter took a photo in front of their newly planted sunflowers. The yellow flowers looking straight up at the sky seemed like symbols of hope. Mom, we'll be okay, right? Yes, we will. A gentle breeze softly caressed their hair. The Safe Family Network's phone is ringing again today. It surely carries someone's anxiety and someone's hope. Maggie picks up the receiver. Hello, safe family network. Let's think through any concerns together. Someone sighs deeply on the other end. While listening to that voice, Maggie makes a vow to turn this experience into light for someone else, and to ensure this region never experiences the same sadness again. Outside the window, sunflowers swayed in the wind of a new season.